Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Julie.
We're the hosts of the Hartford Fund's Human-Centric Investing Podcast.
Every other week, we're talking with inspiring thought leaders to hear their best ideas for how you can transform your relationships with your clients.
Let's go.
Well, Julie, this is a unique experience. Usually you're in Washington, I'm in South Carolina. We're in our studios, but today we're at Hartford Fund's headquarters in front of a live audience.
It's amazing. I am so excited to be here live from the home office. It's incredible.
We have a very unique guest since we're here at Hartford Fund's home office. Jim Davey, the president of Hartford Funds, is joining us today because, you know, for advisors who listen to us often, Julie, we don't get perspective from really the top of the industry. We talk to a lot of advisors, we talk to a lot of thought leaders about practice management, but today's a very unique opportunity.
I agree. And I am so excited to welcome Jim Davey, president of Hartford Funds, to our Human-Centric Investing Podcast.
How are we doing?
Thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So Jim, share with our audience a little bit about your background. How did you get in the industry? And two, how did you make your way to Hartford Funds?
Okay, John. So I guess, in the industry, just business major in school, wanted to be into financial services. Wasn't really sure what part of financial services I wanted to get into. But it was a little bit of a unique time period because I started at Merrill Lynch probably 6 or 7 years after 401ks were actually developed. So it was probably, I'd look back on it and say it was a regulatory change that got me involved in financial services. My first job at Merrill Lynch was in their 401k department, which at the time was a brand new department. So the interesting aspect of it is I'd probably say Merrill had about 100,000 employees globally at that point in time. There were no experts in 401k. So it was a nice time to walk into the industry and into financial services. And I look back on it and it was such a great opportunity.
So, and when was it that you came to the Hartford and what kind of led you here?
Then a little over a decade later, came to the Hartford and in the same capacity back in 2002 to run their 401k area. And it was a big step up for me. At Merrill Lynch, I was more on the product management side, and then at the Hartford, it was the whole ball of wax. So it was, you had operations, sales, product. It was very neat. It was a great opportunity. And I still had Merrill Lynch as our biggest client. So it was a nice little connectivity there for us to get started with.
Jim, oftentimes John and I talk about this all the time between ourselves and with the financial advisors that we chat with about culture. And it's something that I think we can feel oftentimes, and a great culture is something that feels really amazing to be a part of. How would you describe the culture here at Hartford Funds?
Julie, I would say I start with we have an entrepreneurial environment. We're not a large firm. We have about 375 employees. So on any given day, you're wearing quite a few hats. And I think that leads to an environment where you kind of just have a can-do attitude. And sometimes it's I have to improvise, like an entrepreneur. So I think that would be the first characteristic I would say about our culture. And then the other one, I think, because of the nature of our business, we partner with Wellington, we partner with Schroders, we outsource a good amount of our operations to State Street or others. And I think it also invokes a partnership environment. Even in here, you partner back and forth with folks. And so that would be the next one. I'd say I think we're built upon partnerships. So when you take the entrepreneurial aspect and the partnership component, it leads to a pretty neat environment, a fun environment, not today's just another day, I'm gonna do the same thing I did yesterday. I don't think that really happens around here that much.
So Jim, thinking about that entrepreneurial spirit, if we pull back the curtain for the advisors who are listening, to say, how does Hartford Funds evaluate new products, whether they're new funds, whether they're new vehicles? How do you resist chasing the new shiny object and really land on something that you think will be a sustainable success? What does that process look like?
It starts with, again, partnerships. So we're fortunate enough to have access to everything Schroders and Wellington does. They are global asset managers. Between the two of them, they have over $2 trillion in assets, $2 trillion. So anything we can think of that we would need to participate in the retail environment, we have at our disposal. So I would start there. Then a lot of it wouldn't be that different than other firms. I think we think about what is happening institutionally, and the trend is usually what is hot institutionally will start to roll down to more of a retail environment. So that I don't think is that different. The other component, the overlay on it though, we have the advantage of being very focused. We are a retail-based firm. Everything we do is through an intermediary, and I'll say it that way, either a financial advisor, a benefit consultant. We really do not go direct to the end client. So a little bit different, and the beauty of it is it lets us focus in one area of the entire marketplace. That helps not chase the shiny toy. So that is helps keep us a little bit grounded. And then again, as I say, you always have that overlay of, because we go through intermediaries, we're always thinking about the intersection of what is the marketplace looking for right now, what are the advisors looking for right now, go to our breadth of capabilities and where our strengths, and wherever they intersect, that's a great spot for us to be thinking about. Do we have a gap in our lineup, or is there an enhancement that's needed, or are we ready to roll right now with an existing strategy that maybe we just have to think a little bit different about?
I know we're always thinking about what the advisor needs in their practice and in their team. How have you seen the role of the wholesaler evolve over the past few years? And in your mind, what does that look like now and really even going forward?
I think the wholesaler today, they need a mindset of, how am I helping my clients, the advisors? How do I help them, one, retain their existing clients that they deal with every day? We all want to retain our clients, right? That's where you're the base or the foundation of a good business model. So how do we do that? How are we relevant? How are we bringing relevant information to the advisor? I'd start there. And then I'd have the overlay of, okay, what can I do to help you build out? I think a lot of our broker-dealer partners will just talk about net new clients. We'll talk about net organic growth. So the net component, how do you constantly grow organically? That's really important, and that's one of the components that I think a wholesaler today has to think about all the time. The business has gotten complex because it's not, a financial advisor is not going to just think about an investment strategy when they think about their clients and how they interact with them. You know this, it goes the whole gamut. And so for us, it's a lot of, how else can I help you inform your clients at whatever part of the lifespan of that relationship is in. If it's a new client and it's a younger client versus somebody ready for retirement, am I talking about Medicare, Social Security? It's just not investment. So I think what you all do is really important for us about, hey, how can I bring other pieces of information that really help me interact with the clients is really important to us.
People always ask Julie and I, like, how do we do what we do at Hartford Funds, especially with things like from the MIT Age Lab, and oftentimes we're going back to say, look, yes, it's our team, but it's an investment that Hartford Funds has made really since 2011, 2012. I mean, whether it was your brilliant foresight, Jim, or we just got lucky, or we saw it coming, but some of that content is really some of the best engagement that we can offer financial advisors and the firms that we work with. So again, on our behalf, thanks for the investment, but I think even for our audience listening to the podcast, this is all part of it. So Jim, if we take you back a little bit, you know, you described how long you've been in the industry, but from a very high level, what changes have you seen in the industry over time? You know, I know fees are one topic that constantly come up. The business changed from a commission model to a fee-based model in many areas of the industry. Are these, as a product manufacturer, these the kind of things you look back on and try and figure out where things are going in the future? And which of those things do you think you would say has had the biggest impact on the industry over your tenure?
Yeah, John, I think I would start with the advisor themselves and how, as a client, you would interact with an advisor. And if you go back to the 90s, it may just be an individual advisor. You know, I have my financial advisor, and I'm going to talk about my plans, and at that point, it might have been just saving in my 401k plan. And then, you know, you get married, and what's the next thing? Do I have life insurance? You have kids, I need a 529 plan. What kind of a mortgage should I take out? You know, you just go through that, and you see all of a sudden that it's not just an advisor. Now it's a team, and I'm dealing with other folks besides just who I was first introduced to. So from a relationship standpoint, I think it's gotten much more sophisticated than it was. And it will continue to do that. I firmly believe it will continue to become more sophisticated. From a product standpoint, I would say, you know, there's clearly been a lot of innovation in financial services. Sometimes people would think that this is not an industry that has a lot of innovation. I think it's subtle, and it really does have an impact. So again, I would say, you know, you'd start with the mutual fund, or actually back then, maybe I'd just say stocks and bonds. Mm-hmm. And then you would start to think about managed accounts, mutual funds, SMAs. The introduction of ETFs for trading was incredible. So the products evolve, then the strategies evolve, and we've seen all that. It's not the, you know, Morningstar style boxes. It's what else do we have, from thematic investments to very thinly sliced asset classes. Everything just, again, evolves there. And then the last component that I'd overlay on all of it is pricing and margin, and how does an FA think about their business model. They're going to interact differently with their clients based on the business model that they want to pursue. So again, back in the day, it might have been loads on mutual funds and hold those funds forever, and maybe buy a lot of the same fund family so that I could drive the price of the load down, have the accumulation effect to basically get to advice for a fee, and now I'm going to do a wrap on everything, and we're going to get rid of the load, to now I'm going to bring in different type of investments that hopefully are cheaper, so that I'm driving the cost down for my client, the end consumer. And that's constantly happening, but that happens everywhere. It happens in every industry. So you want to become more productive, more efficient, and obviously that has an impact on margins, and they get squeezed. And I think that's going to continue to happen in this industry. But I think at the end of the day, those are all great components for the client. We just have to always think about how we compete and introduce what we can do in the marketplace very strategically.
As you think about all of those components, in your mind, what do you perceive as some of the biggest challenges that lie ahead for the industry?
So the first one, I think, I'm going to start with products, because it's been a challenge right now, so it's top of mind for me. You know, again, I said I've been with the Hartford for over 20 years now, and this is about the first time I can ever remember we have to compete against cash. And it's been a learning process, I think, for the industry. You know, I'll look back at this year's gross sales industry-wide, and they're down about 35%. because you can earn 5% to just leave your money sitting in cash right now, and I'll think about where I can go from there. So that's an obstacle that we will overcome. We're working on that one, how you make a money market fund or cash an asset class again, and incorporate that into your overall asset allocation. But the opportunity of it is now rates are up higher, and fixed income, you can actually get yield on fixed income. That's a great outcome. So there's always restarts for us in the industry. This is one of those restarts. So I think about that today, and where do we go from here? Another challenge is, I think for 2 or 3 years, it was the FANGs. We'd talk about the FANGs and the overweight to them in asset allocations again, either in a individual's account owning those securities or in an index. How much they would make up of the index. Now I think we're up to the Magnificent Seven, so we'll throw that out there. And the challenge there then is for active management who's not going to have those weights to all of those companies in their portfolios. If they're the 7 or 5 firms that are driving returns or an outsized portion of returns, it is now hard to beat your index. And that's a tough conversation. So it's another component. But I would always say, as long as I've been around, and some of the thoughts and comments I just said, it seems like I've been around longer than I thought I was. There's always a reversion to the mean, and I think that will happen. And I think there are great companies out there that are undervalued in portfolios across our industry, not just Hartford Funds, that will shine again, and we will have, as active management, better days ahead of us.
So Jim, I was going to ask you about active management, because we were just talking about changes, but there seems to be some things that you've kind of guided our firm in the direction of, active management being one. So I was going to ask you about why your deep-seated belief in active management. But a second one is, obviously, with all the technology that comes at us right now, there has had to been temptations over the years to say, hey, why don't we just start this little thing going direct to consumers, right, and let them. But you seem to have remained committed, as you mentioned earlier, to the intermediary, the financial intermediary. So just a couple of comments on active management and the role of the advisor, and why those are 2 core tenets that you believe in.
Yeah, no, I think that it's a great question, John. Thank you for asking it, because I think it's the core of what we do, how we've built Hartford Funds. So I'll start with, I think we're a unique firm. People will say you're sub-advised, right? And I'd say, yes, we are, but we're not like any other sub-advised firm out there. We deal with 2 asset managers, and that's it. We're not a manager of managers. We don't deal with 40 different asset managers and fire and replace and hire. We don't do any of that. We take advantage of the great capabilities that Wellington and Schroders brings to us. From an active standpoint, I get to see that every day. And I believe that they, with their active decision-making and the investment professionals that they have, they can add alpha and beat an index. And I firmly believe that. So I'd start right there. And then I layer on that investment management is complicated, and especially active management, because, as you've been to board meetings with me, that you have to talk to the board about the decisions they make. What is the benchmark? It's not just the S&P 500. What's the objective of the fund? And you go through those iterations to talk about, are you creating alpha? And more importantly, is there a value in the risk-adjusted returns our clients are seeing from the funds that the advisors are picking out for them? When I say all that, I could cut it down to, it's really complicated. And I believe active management is best served with advice. And that's why the core tenet has always been, we're retail, we go through intermediaries, our clients are best served with the advice they give them. And period, that's where I'd stop.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. If you think about that advice, and we're, obviously the financial advisors that are listening right now, that's what they're in their seats providing advice to their clients and all of the different variables every single day with the market volatility and inbound client requests and thinking about that. How do you think that we can continue to deliver great ideas and insights to them as we go forward?
A lot of it is listening, so I think a lot of great decisions are just made through listening. My wife tells me that all the time. So that I'd start there. They're going to give us great feedback. They're going to give everybody great feedback. And the firms that listen and figure out how to interact with them and then deliver something that is going to create value for both sides are going to win. So that's an important component it's more than a component, it's actually a resource to have the advisor give you that kind of intelligence of, hey, this is what I'm missing in my book of business for 30% of my clients. And to be able to get that and utilize it, it's your own think tank, it's a lab. So that's a very important component for us.
Jim, many of the advisors listening they head up their teams. They play influential roles at their firms. You've managed through the great financial crisis of 2008, 9, 10, whatever those years were that we tried to erase from our memories. But now we're back in challenging times again. 2022, one of the most upside down years in markets that people ever had to deal with. What are some of the core tenets that you would share with our listeners about leading a team through challenging times? What do you think about? What are the most important things that you want to reinforce even when the winds aren't behind your back?
So I would start with the experience that you bring to the table, that there's always a challenge. If this was easy, it's just not. Right. So there's always a challenge that you're going to deal with. And I remember my first day at the Hartford, and again, I'm coming from Merrill Lynch, and all I think about are markets and investment strategies that we can roll out in our 401k plans that'll be helpful for all the participants in those plans. And we had an issue from our insurance side, and our stock went down about 20% on the first day. And I was thinking to myself, wait a second, I have to start watching the Weather Channel too? And there's always issues, and you manage through them. And it's one of those, another characteristic that I love about advice. I think one of the most important things, and this is, you could say it for a leader or for a financial advisor or financial advisor's team, is to create a strategy or a plan. So for us, it would be a strategy, and how are we going to go execute and move forward and be a better firm 3-5 years down the road. For an advisor, it might be, how do I build a 20-year plan that there's going to be changes along the way, but you stick to the core of what you want to achieve. And as an advisor, you have the ability to calm people down and say, remember what we're doing. Remember what we started here, and this is the direction we want to go to get there. And it's, to me, that is one of the most important things of advice. When to do things, when not to do others. Buy and hold kind of works. Sometimes you have to make adjustments to it, and they're relevant to get you to achieve the outcome you want. But just let me calm you down and step back for a second. And I think about some of those periods you brought up, and if you think about even just the last 10 or 12 years, what has happened and what has driven markets sometimes were really meaningless a year later. So it's always take a step back, take a deep breath, remember what you're trying to do to begin with, and keep going forward.
It's interesting, Jim, and the conversations that John and I have with advisors, not only do they find themselves in situations where they're having to, lead clients through difficult times, but they also find themselves oftentimes as their practice becomes more and more successful, they're leading many people, right? They're the rainmaker on the team, but also they may have 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 individuals on their team. And so essentially they're leading all of these humans on their team. When you think about your leadership strategy and your process, what resources in your life do you draw upon to continue your leadership journey? Are there mentors? Are there books, podcasts? What does your professional development look like that you could share with our audience?
Yeah, I just start with home. So you guys know I'm the youngest of 10. So my parents had to lead a team anyway. So I got to see all of that from the right-hand side of my dad all the way down the table. So I would just start there, and there's a lot of chaos all the time, and you figure out your own style, because you can't. I don't believe you can adjust to a different type of personality. So I can't get up in front of a group and be very entertaining and start throwing out jokes left and right and be myself. That's not what I do. I think that, one, just know who you are, and you're going to be much more comfortable, much more effective in whatever you're trying to communicate. So I've always drawn that one from the house. And then, like everybody else, there's teachers, there's coaches. Mine are more real life experiences, how people have handled situations, what I liked, what I didn't like, so I know what to avoid. And I try to keep it really simple. And then the other aspect, so that's where I would start, at least for myself. And then I'm sure if you talk to any one of your successful teams out there from a financial advisor standpoint, they're just going to say, I'm just going to hire the best people. I'm going to hire the best people and keep us all on the same page. And that's what I try and do here. And I think we have a very good group. When I look at our 375 people, I feel really good about it.
Jim, one of the things we get asked about all the time, and actually we do a number of podcast episodes on, is how do people find balance in this ever-connected world? Like, it seems like business can go on 24/7 if we let it. A lot of advisors say, I'm tired, I'm worn out, especially with the markets we've had for the past couple of years. What does Jim Davey do to disconnect and keep things fresh? How do you kind of refresh yourself in the role that you play here at Hartford Funds?
There's a couple answers there, John. One is, I'll start with what we do as a business, and I love what we do. So I never feel like, I have to go home and just shut down because I'm completely exhausted. That just doesn't happen. So I'll start with that. But there are periods where you say, all right, I've been on the phone all day with 40 different folks. I can't talk, my mouth doesn't work anymore. And you just kind of relax and take it easy. There's also, I love the do not disturb on the phone. Just hit it, turn it off, and I'll catch up later. So I think there are ways, but I would say this, that it's impossible to shut down and recharge if you don't like what you're doing, because you're always going to be thinking about it or dreading it. It's imperative that you feel like, when I do go to work, it's something I love. I feel like I'm additive, and I feel like the company appreciates me. And if you can do that, the whole recharging thing is different. Now it's not recharging, it's taking advantage of other components of your life and really enjoying them. But I do think that's an important one, that every now and again you step back and say, is this right? Is this right? I mean, let's face it, the last 3 years, you can basically go from one role to another, one industry to another, one part of the country to another, or one part of the globe to another, and still have access to great employment and at really good wages. So I start with that. Make sure you're there, and then move forward.
That's great. Well, anybody that knows me knows that I'm constantly striving to raise the bar of professionalism. That's just a personal core belief of mine. When you think about your life and your role, what lessons in professionalism do you hope that your kids learn from you, or do you hope to pass down to them?
Oh, great one. You know, we talk about that. We just really started talking about this because I have a freshman and a sophomore in college, and you know, they're at that age where all of a sudden there's internships, there's interviews. It's not just hand in the application anymore, right. And hopefully you get hired. And we do talk about it. And what I just said is something I stress to them is, hey, I don't care what you are, what you do, what you graduate with, but find something you like that you want to enjoy, and figure out how you bring value. Mm-hmm. And that's a great start. They also see me interact with folks here, and they come right out and say, boy, Dad, you have a lot of fun with the people you work with. I say, yeah, I do. I always have to step back, though, and say, listen, it's not we had fun and decided to work together. We work together, we respect each other a lot for what we bring to the table and accomplish, and we trust each other. So having fun is easy after that. So that's one of the big ones I try and stress to them. And then just, you know, they've got to experience it themselves. There's not too much you can say. So but we have fun with this right now. This is a fun point of where we are with the two boys.
So Jim, what's a couple of things that our listeners would not learn about, and even our audience that's sitting here with us, a couple of things that people would not know about Jim Davey by reading your bio? What are some of those inside insights that maybe a lot of people don't know about Jim, but if you had to think about him, you'd say, you know, even if I think about him myself, it's kind of different.
Let's see, I'll try and come up with a couple ones. You know, I asked my wife this once, and she said, right off the bat, she said, you love rocking chairs.
Rocking chairs.
Rocking chairs.
Okay.
All right, so it's not on my bio. That's nowhere. Yes, I do.
We need to add that to the bio.
I do like rocking chairs. And John, you know this, I can't sit still anyway. So even this is hard right now to sit here for a minute or two. So that kind of comes in with the theme of the rocking chair. Another one, I hate being by myself. I always meet people around. My wife, again, would say she'll go out to the store and come home, there's 10 people in the house. So that does happen, too.
Is that a function of the 10-child family, you think?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, always somebody around.
I like interaction, and yeah. So it's definitely a function of that, and those 10 kids now, I have 40 nieces and nephews, so it gets bigger and bigger.
It should be easy for you then.
Yes. What else that I would think about that you wouldn't know about me? I don't know. I think I'm pretty transparent. I think everybody knows my sports teams.
Our listeners may not.
We're a dysfunctional family. I'm a Red Sox fan. My wife's a Yankees fan. It's worse in football. I'm a Jets fan. She's a Giants fan. My son, Jimmy, is a Patriots fan.
Oh, wow.
So it's really dysfunctional on that side.
But now you can all agree on the Eagles since you're here in the Philadelphia area headquarters, right? We solved that problem for you?
I always say that, you know, when the Philly teams win, it's good for morale. And that's where I stop.
That's right.
Unfortunately, today, the timing of this one isn't so great.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for that insight. And you know, because it is the Human-Centric Investing podcast, if you're willing, we would love to move into the lightning round of questions and ask you a few questions, just top-of-mind answers. So, John, do you want to kick us off here?
Sure. Jim, scale of 1 to 10.
10.
How good of a driver are you?
10.
There it is. There it is. You knew it before I asked.
Are you a morning person or a night person?
I'm a morning person.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs all the time.
What kind of dog do you have?
Bernese Mountain Dog, named Fenway.
Nice. Named Fenway. And your wife agreed to that?
It's the only way she was getting a dog. Got to hold a trump card every now and again. So I got to name the dog, and I get to own the garage. I don't get any say in the house. But
There we
the
go.
garage,
I think
it's
that's
mine.
fair.
The garage with the dog named Fenway.
I like
You're
it.
good. Got it.
Correct.
What's your favorite food?
Anything Italian. So I'm 100% Irish. Love anything Italian.
Your favorite holiday?
This will be a weird one for you. Memorial Day weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
You know, for us, it's the beginning of summer. We love the beach. It's just always been a family get together. So we have all of my family at the house on Memorial Day weekend. It's always been a great one.
Awesome. That is a unique
awesome.
one.
I love that.
My grandfather became a citizen fighting for the U.S. in World War I. My dad fought in World War II. My oldest brother was Vietnam. So it's a great holiday for us.
That's
We
awesome.
love it.
What's the best age?
I keep thinking it keeps getting better. So I don't know. I would say for me, when they were infants, I loved like they'd fall asleep on you. It's just a hot water bottle on you. So there's different components. Then Little League, coaching Little League and have fun there. And now with them, we go out and see football games together, and it's awesome. So it just keeps getting better. So I don't know. I don't know what the best age is.
Do you keep a to-do list? And if so, is it on paper or is it digital?
I do keep a to-do list, and it is on paper.
I know Julie would be a big fan.
Oh yeah. Don't you love to cross the things off?
I
That's my
do. I
favorite
love
part.
and I love crossing dates off. Once you hit a milestone on something, those I highlight. I don't even cross out.
That's a good
You know,
one.
Julie actually puts things on her list that she's already done just so she can cross.
Cross it off. It feels so good.
So
Excellent.
I do. It's a
think
problem.
Mentally, that's
It's-
awesome.
It is an
Because
amazing cleansing
Everybody
process.
feels better as you achieve
You
something.
do.
So
Oh, it's
I'm
just-
a big fan of that.
My
Maybe
husband's
I'll do
like,
that.
"Did you just write that?
I'm
That you
gonna go
just
back
did?
upstairs and put
You
this
should
on my
put it on
to-do
there, and then
list.
just go."
Cross it right out.
Think about all the things
Yeah,
you got
and then
done
you can
today,
like walk
even
around
though
your
they're
office
already
like
done.
this.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's energizing.
Yeah.
What was your favorite board game growing up?
Risk.
That's a good one. Made family members mad at one another constantly.
Yeah.
And closely related to that, but what did you want to be when you grew up?
A relief pitcher.
You didn't want to be the president of a mutual fund company?
I still want to be a relief pitcher.
I do too. Well, now they make you face 3 batters. Probably better when you only had to pitch to one.
The one. And
Right.
Tough outing today.
Exactly.
Would you rather binge watch a TV show or watch a movie?
A movie. Yeah, I hate getting sucked in.
Would you rather read a book or listen to an audiobook?
I'd rather read a book.
Yeah.
Tea or coffee?
Neither. I don't like anything hot.
Oh, interesting.
Never had a cup of coffee. Never had a cup of tea.
Really?
Yeah. Of iced tea. I love coffee ice cream.
Okay. There we go.
That's cheating, though. I love all ice cream. But yeah, no, I even as a kid, I didn't like hot chocolate.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
If you could go anywhere in the United States or the world for free, where would you take your wife? Where would you go?
We love Grand Cayman. And that's an expensive one, so free. She wants to go to Rome, so that would be a good one. I would like Rome. We love London. We've never been to Bermuda.
It's my favorite place in the world.
You know, we always struggle with it because when the weather's nice there, the weather's nice here. So it's not an escape. It's that we have to make a destination, but we'll get there. So, and you know, I always kid about like New Zealand, Australia, but it's just too far for me.
That was a good answer. I asked you for one. You gave me like 6.
I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it. We just had our 25th wedding anniversary.
Awesome. Congratulations.
And we didn't go anywhere yet, specifically, because we were in South Bend, which I thought was a great 25th wedding.
Oh, there you go.
So we have to plan that, after football season's over.
Add it to the to-do list.
Add it to the
There we
to-do
go.
list.
Would you rather travel to the past or to the future?
To the future.
Well, Jim, thanks very much for being on the podcast today. I mean, I think your insights are invaluable, especially for our listeners who oftentimes they're leading their own teams through uncertain times. So we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend some time with Julie and I.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And I'd end it with, one of the things that I've always said, I love financial services because you should be leaving every night feeling like you did something that was valuable, that you helped. And that's not always the case. So it's a terrific industry. And again, I would always go back to, if you really love the industry, you're going to probably have much better odds of being successful than not.
Thanks for listening to the Hartford Funds Human-Centric Investing Podcast. If you'd like to tune in for more episodes, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube.
And if you'd like to be a guest and share your best ideas for transforming client relationships, email us at guestbooking@hartfordfunds.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Talk to you soon.
The MITH Lab is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Hartford Funds.
Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal. Fixed income security risks include credit, liquidity, call, duration, and interest rate risk. As interest rates rise, bond prices generally fall.